She takes her opportunity. Alexandra Eala, she reeled off the opening set in double quick time. Fair play, Magdalena Frech. She came back, took that second set 6-3.
Somewhere in Mallorca, Spain, a man who won 14 French Opens picked up his phone. He watched the live stream. He watched the first set end in 6 minutes of pure domination. He watched the second set slip away. He watched the third set begin. And then slowly a smile crossed his face. Because what he was watching was not just a tennis match. It was 8 years of work finally becoming undeniable. Rafael Nadal watched his student walk back onto that court like she owned it, and she did. But before we get to Nadal, let me ask you something. Do you know what a bagel looks like in tennis? 6-0. Total shutdown. 35 minutes of one player making another look completely lost. Alexandra Eala just delivered one of those against a 28-year-old Polish veteran who had beaten top 1-0 players in her career, and she did it on one of the most famous clay courts in all of Italian history. The question everyone had was simple: could she finish it? Stay with me, because what happened next is the reason 115 million Filipinos should be watching this right now. The Italian Open, the Foro Italico complex in Rome. Court Pietrangeli, surrounded by 18 marble statues that have stood guard over nearly a century of tennis greatness. This is where Eala stepped out against Magdalena Frech of Poland. Frech was ranked world number 42. She had a career high of number 22 just 2 years ago. She had defeated top 1-0 opponents. She was no easy mark. And in the first set, none of that mattered at all. Eala broke her serve early, held her own, broke again, held again, broke a third time, closed it out, 6-0. The Polish player, a seasoned veteran, looked like she could not find a single answer. The Rome crowd watched in silence as a player who had lost her last 3 clay matches in a row dismantled someone far more experienced on the very surface where experience matters most. And then something happened. Veterans don't stay buried. Frech came back. She adjusted her return position between sets, she attacked Eala's second serve, and she clawed her way to a 6-3 second set. The momentum completely flipped. The match became a coin flip. And every single person in tennis who had been watching Eala this clay swing started thinking the same thing. Will she fold? Will this be Linz again, where she led 4-2 and let it slip? Will this be Madrid, where she got bageled herself? Will this be another cautionary tale on red dirt? Here is where you need to pay absolute attention. Because this is the moment that separates players from champions. Eala walked back out for the third set and she did not panic. She did not rush. She did not crack. She broke serve early, held her own, climbed the board 2-1, 3-2, 4-3. Frech kept fighting back. Both players faced break points. Both players survived. The tension kept building until 5-4 arrived, with Eala serving for the match. She held. Clean. Composed. Handshake at the net. Match over. 4-tournament clay drought ended on the most beautiful court in Italian tennis. Now, here is the number that should shock every coach in professional women's tennis. Are you ready? Her second serve win percentage in this match, 68%. 68. Higher than her own first serve percentage. Higher than Frech's first serve. The exact shot that failed her 3 weeks earlier in Linz, the one that produced 0% against Ostapenko on outdoor clay, became the weapon that won her this match. You do not fix something that broken in 3 weeks through luck. You don't just decide one morning that your second serve is great now. So, how did this happen? Where was she 7 days before this match? She was in Mallorca. At the Rafa Nadal Academy. After the Madrid loss, she went home, and home for Alexandra Eala is the red clay of Mallorca, where she has trained since she was 12 years old. The academy took one look at what went wrong, diagnosed it, built a prescription, and drilled her back into shape for a week. And the result played out in Rome for the entire tennis world to see. 6 breaks of serve from 12 opportunities. Half of every chance she earned, she converted. Frech converted 3 of 9. Total points 182 to 75 inches Eala's favor. The categories don't lie. She was better. Completely. But here's what most people still don't understand. Alexandra Eala is not just a Filipino player who happens to train at a famous academy. She is the heir to the most decorated clay court philosophy in the history of professional tennis. She arrived in Mallorca in 2018 as a 12-year-old who had just won a prestigious junior tournament in France. The academy reached out. They offered her a scholarship. Her family relocated. She and her brother Michael traveled to Spain, and she walked through those gates as a child carrying the dreams of a country that had never produced a tennis player who mattered on the global stage. She lived there. She trained there. She graduated from the academic program in 2023. The red clay courts of Mallorca were her classroom. And the teachers? Tony Nadal himself, the man who built Rafael into the greatest clay court player who ever lived, worked with her. The entire coaching infrastructure that shaped 22 Grand Slam titles poured its methodology into a girl from Quezon City. Every forehand pattern she chooses, every defensive reset she executes, every decision she makes in the middle of a clay court rally, all of it carries the fingerprints of that academy. And the relationship is not just professional, it is deeply personal. When she reached the Miami Open semifinals in 2025 and became the first Filipino player ever to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal at age 19, Nadal posted publicly. He wrote that they were extremely proud of her and told her to keep dreaming. After her first WTA Tour level win, he wrote again, "Every meaningful Eala victory has been followed by a Nadal acknowledgement. This is documented. This is real." And then in November 2025, 1 year after officially retiring from professional tennis, Rafael Nadal stepped back onto a practice court for the first time. The opponent he chose for that emotional return was Alexandra Eala. The 2-2-time Grand Slam champion selected his Filipina student as his hitting partner for his very first session back. She said it was something young kids can only dream about. She said he gave her tips on her forehand and small pieces of advice she will carry forever. That session was not random. The master in retirement chose his student. That means something. Mats Wilander, 7-time Grand Slam champion, one of the most respected evaluators in tennis history, watched Eala train at the academy and said she has hands given by God. Hands given by God. Tony Nadal said once she gets her game right, she could be among the best in the world. Among the best in the world from the man who built Nadal himself, Mariel Nadal, Rafael's sister and a key executive at the academy, called Eala an inspiration for boys and girls across the Philippines. These are not throwaway quotes. These are serious tennis people making serious assessments about a 20-year-old from Quezon City. Eala herself has explained exactly what she has learned from Nadal. She said the one thing she absorbed most is his ability to suffer. She called it unmatched. She said the ability to stay through the hardest moments, to want to go through them rather than away from them, is something he embodies at a level nobody else does. And today, when that second set went wrong after a dominant first set, she proved she understood the lesson. She suffered. She did not collapse. She walked back out for the third set and closed the match. That is not coincidence. That is curriculum. Now the road ahead. Eala faces Wang Xinyu of China in the round of 64. The same Wang Xinyu who defeated her in Auckland in January 7-5, 6-4, a three-set heartbreaker she has been carrying for 4 months. The rematch is set. But the player walking into that rematch is not the player who lost in Auckland. The second serve has been rebuilt. The clay court confidence has been restored, and 12 days from now, Roland Garros begins. Every match she wins between now and Paris is a deposit in the bank of her development. Today she made the biggest deposit of her entire European campaign. A win on the most beautiful court in Italian tennis against a former top 2-0 player with a 68% second serve conversion rate. That performance will travel to Paris. The eyes of Rafael are on Rome. The eyes of Tony are on Rome. The eyes of Mariel and every coach who has worked with her for 8 years are on Rome. They watched her struggle in Linz, Stuttgart, and Madrid. They welcomed her home for a week of focused work. They sent her back to Italy. And today they got their answer. Pietrangeli witnessed it. The marble statues recorded it into the long history of Italian tennis. And somewhere in Manacor, the king of clay watched his student carry his philosophy forward on a court he himself dominated for nearly 2 decades. This is what 8 years of mentorship looks like when it finally arrives in public. This is what happens when a country sends its most talented player to the most decorated coaching system in the sport and gives her the time to become who she was built to be. The question is no longer whether Alexandra Eala belongs on clay. Today answered that. The only question left is how far she goes in Paris. So drop your flag in the comments right now. Drop the fire. Tell me your prediction for the Wang rematch. Tell me your Roland Garros call. Tag every person you know who doubted her after Madrid. And share this video everywhere, because 115 million Filipinos and one retired king of clay in Mallorca are watching Rome tonight, and they all know exactly what this win means.